Hey, it's all about perspective, right? Some of you guys think Saturday was really, really ugly. I think, as a defensive minded person, that was a gorgeous football game. We can all agree that winning on the road against a ranked opponent in this league, it's something to be proud of. Tennessee's 4-0 heading to the bye. We're going to react to everything Tennessee, Oklahoma here on a Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane. I can't thank you enough for making us a part of your morning routine, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Shout out every dayers for making us, again, a part of that morning routine. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and, of course, on the YouTube channel. We got a big one coming up today, but first I do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and get $20 off your first purchase over on the Game Time app. So I'm going to give some reactions. Again, I was traveling. I went to the game. I got back Sunday at around noon back in Knoxville, and I'm just sitting here thinking like, wow, what a whirlwind weekend, because I didn't leave until, late afternoon. Actually, it was actually early evening because they delayed my flight Friday, but I left Friday evening, got back Sunday around noon. So a quick trip out to the Palace on the Prairie, if you will. I was in-house to see Tennessee take on Oklahoma and win that football game. So I got a lot of thoughts. And I say all this because I wasn't able to do a post-game show because due to the travel arrangements after the game, had to hop in the car, drive 2 hours, get close to the airport, all that type of stuff. So first time you're hearing from me. Typically I try to get something out after each game, but this will be the first time you're hearing from me since that football game, and in case you care, like, I got some thoughts. So look, quick thoughts and stuff like that here in segment number one. Some reactions, scoring plays courtesy of the Vol Radio Network in segment number two. Game balls, stats that count, Caner grades, all that and more in segment number three. We're gonna recap this one from every single angle. At least start that process here on a Monday morning because hey, Tennessee's on a bye week this week, so chance to rest, recover, get healthy, and then set your sights towards Fayetteville for Arkansas next weekend. Quick thoughts first and foremost. You won a football game on the road in the Southeastern Conference. Yes, Oklahoma's brand new to the conference, but this is a conference football game, so you never, ever, ever apologize for winning football games. That's something Coach Sparks told us, at Carson Newman. I remember one time we went down to Rome, Georgia, and played against a Shorter team. If anybody listening here that went to Shorter or played for, I believe they were the Shorter Hawks. No disrespect, but, we're supposed to, win that game convincingly, and, we barely scraped by, and everybody's just kind of, upset in the locker room after the win, and Coach Sparks says, hey, you never apologize for a win. And that's not even this type of football game, so, don't hear me wrong. I just feel like I've seen a lot of the reaction, and not everybody, but I've seen a lot of the reaction since Saturday night's game, and everybody's like, what happened to the offense? And I'll get into that. And what was up with the play calling? And I'll get into that. And, Tennessee's lucky this, lucky that. No, Tennessee played beautiful defense. Tennessee won this game on its defense, on its run game in the second and third quarter. Okay, there's a lot of beautiful things in that. So first and foremost, in my opinion, I can't tell anybody how to fan. You never, ever apologize for a win. And there was a lot on Saturday that I liked. Most importantly, Tennessee won the football game, and Tennessee's 4-0 heading to the bye week. So when you're talking about those college football playoff projections, now if you look over the Football Power Index, I don't have it in front of me, but Tennessee's chances are skyrocketed over 60%, I believe. Actually, I think they're over 70%. I'll have to go look and confirm. You did a job well done the first third of the season, okay? You made a lot of teams look pedestrian. And there was a lot of things on Saturday night that wasn't easy, and I'll get into that. But you made a lot of teams look pedestrian, but you handled your business, and you're 4-0, and you start the real drive and stretch of SEC play here coming up a week after next. So a beautiful defensive game. Tennessee ran its touchdownless quarter streak all the way to 19 straight leading into the fourth quarter on Saturday night, meaning dating back to last season. In fact, it was in the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt last football season, the last time anybody scored an offensive touchdown against Tennessee's defense before the fourth quarter on Saturday when Oklahoma, scored a couple of touchdowns. The first one they scored, Oklahoma being Tennessee had a bunch of reserves in there. At one time I looked down there and I was sitting next to Austin Price, and I'm like, Is that Edwin Spillman at linebacker? Don't get me wrong. I want to see Edwin Spillman play. I think he's going to be a player, but that point in the game, this point in his career, it's like, what is he doing out there? It was him and Caleb Perry out there, and there were some other reserves on the defense, and then finally this being Oklahoma, drove the length of the field or whatever, and Tennessee put in their starters there towards the end. They're just trying to get too cute with it, so that touchdown was on them and on coaching, in my opinion. The second touchdown that Oklahoma scored, and I said it on the 2-minute drill afterwards, I said it on the board, I said it on Twitter, I said it on the postgame mini pod for over at VolQuest.com. I'm going to stop saying it because if you guys have consumed all that, job well done, but you're getting tired of hearing me saying this. That roughing the passer penalty that extended that drive for Oklahoma was about the most pathetic football call I've seen in quite some time. And I am big on it's hard to officiate. I am big on it's a thankless job. I am big. I'm team officials, okay, because I know a lot of them and I know the work that goes into being an official in the Southeastern Conference and the ACC. But that roughing the passer penalty was absolutely pathetic. Pathetic. The weakest personal foul call I think I've ever seen in my life. That was pathetic. And if not for that, that was fourth down. That should have been drive over, in my opinion. Or it should have been drive over, not my opinion, everybody's opinion. Should have been drive over. So that second touchdown that scored came off that bogus roughing the passer call there in the fourth quarter. So this game should have been even more lopsided. This game was never in doubt, okay? Tennessee took the foot off the pedal in the second half, and that's what we really want to get into, right? That's what everybody wants to know and why, and everybody's frustrated and angry. And I even put out on Twitter sometime in the fourth quarter, I'm like, Tennessee is calling a very conservative game plan here in this football game. I'm not a fan of it, but I understand why. And I stand by that right now. When I'm saying I'm not a fan of it, I'm not criticizing why they did it. Actually, I think it's a smart move why they did it. I'm just like you. I'm a football fan. I want to see plays. I want to see action. I want to see fireworks. But also, I think Tennessee's at its best when it's playing aggressive, both offensively and defensively. And Tennessee's offense was not playing aggressive, not calling. Josh Heupel and Joey Halsley were not calling an aggressive game plan in the second half. But I condemn them. Condemn them. That's probably not the right word. I applaud them. I think they did the right thing. Why? Well, because I don't know what Oklahoma's offense is going to be this year. I don't know what Oklahoma's final record is going to be. I could see them being a 9-3 team, 8-4, whatever. But I'll tell you what, that defense is pretty good. And, Matt Ray said we like to go back at the end of the year and look and see how many, teams, do what teams do against this Oklahoma defense, when it's all said and done, because we just don't know the answer to that right now. But know that Alabama's defense is going to be tough. Know Georgia's defense is going to be tough. Know there will be some challenges from some other teams in Florida, Kentucky, some other teams on the schedule, okay? But that defense is going to be one of the best that Tennessee sees this year, in my opinion. So, and I mean, they had Tennessee's number on a couple of occasions. So, hat tip to Brent Venables. Hat tip to his defensive coordinator who called those plays on Saturday. They did a really, really good job in that respect. So, it was tough at first to run the football. Tennessee had 7 carries for 7 yards, averaging 1 yard per carry on the ground in the first quarter. And then Tennessee had a really strong second quarter, sparked by DeSean Bishop, who is clearly RB2 on this football team, and then ending with Dylan Sampson, 8-play, 46-yard drive that really made the lead 19-3 at that point in time, heading into the locker room. And because you had a lead of 19-3, because of the run game was starting to come around, and because you had already gotten tagged for not 1 but 2 strip sack fumbles that didn't come back to hurt you at that point in time in the football game, Tennessee said, okay, well, what's more important, scoring points or guaranteeing we win this football game? Because the way this defense is playing right now, the way Oklahoma is playing offensively, the way Tennessee's defense is playing right now, we can run the football and we can play defense and we can punt the football away, and we will not take any unnecessary risk to make sure we get a win on the road, because that's the most important thing. They still took a couple of shots. Brew McCoy had a shot down the field in the third quarter. Dante Thornton had a touchdown wiped off the board there because of a holding penalty. That was so it's not like that they didn't take any shots. And but I'm just saying, like on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, obvious passing situations, they were running the football. And it was annoying at times, don't get me wrong, but I understand where they were coming from, because you were playing this football game, and you guys know I'm a big believer in Dane Davis. I think you are really, really well off for having a Dane Davis on this football team. Dane Davis had a rough day on Saturday. He did. It wasn't all his fault, but he had a rough day. The blitz coming up, the strip sack coming from the left side, I believe it was Dylan Sampson. He's got to help pick up that blitzer, and he did not. I believe it was DeSean Bishop that was in the football game whenever Dane was not only having to play in this game, but flip-flopping between left and right. I think it was DeSean Bishop that was supposed to help on the one on the right side where Dane just kind of got whipped. Sure, it starts with Dane Davis, okay, but the running backs are supposed to help him. He had a rough night. John Campbell played 34 snaps. That's something that's got to be figured out, and we'll talk about it this week during the bye week. Tennessee's starting right tackle cannot continue to play less than a half of football if you want to be an elite football team, because Lance Hurd was not in this football game. So the way Tennessee's tackles were playing, and really the offensive line overall, nobody really played extremely well in the offensive line. Couple that with how you were starting to find your run game, 73 yards in the second quarter compared to 7 yards in the first quarter. The way this defense was playing lights out, just do whatever it takes to go get a win on the road and then regroup. And I want to say this, in all the weeks, talking, I'm going a little bit longer here in segment number 1, because segment 2 is going to be a little shorter because I'm not going to play many scoring clips because there wasn't many scoring clips. I don't play field goals. The week was about Josh Heupel. He continued to say, I don't want it to be about me. I don't want it to be about me. He said all the right things. He was candid in Monday's, last Monday's press conference. He said all the right things in the SEC teleconference and then after the post game and all that. He did. And it's not like Josh Heupel to make things about himself, but these players knew what this meant to him, okay? That's why Nico went immediately over to the sideline and gave Josh Heupel the football as the clock struck 0. That's why Nico gave him the football again in the locker room, and Tennessee put it out there on social media. It means something to him because of everything that happened with Oklahoma, but also, in case you guys didn't know, Josh Heupel lost his mother this past summer or late spring, I believe, and this is the first football season without her. And they were very close. And Josh Heupel said in post-game press conference after the game, like, hey, she was looking forward to this one more than ever. Obviously, well, because why not? I mean, your boy played here, coached here, won a national championship here, was let go here, going back here to coach against him. Who wouldn't be looking forward to this if you weren't a parent or mother? And he got a little bit emotional and everything. But these players knew how much it meant to him, and they produced. But more so than anything, like, I thought Josh Heupel, in my opinion, matured as a play caller in this football game. I know I got to hit a break, but listen to this, and I'll close with this here in this segment. Everybody's frustrated about the lack of fireworks, the lack of explosions, taking the foot off the pedal and all that. And I hear you. I'm not telling anybody how to fan. I think with the way the game was going and the way the game was dictated at that point in time, and where you were at offensive tackle, I think that was the right call. But how about Josh Heupel, who is always aggressive and takes unnecessary risks certain times? Alabama going for it on 4th down twice on your own side of the 50 last year. Several other situations I can bring up. He's an emotional play caller sometimes. He was cool, calm, and collective and did not let his emotions cloud his judgment in the game the other day. He wanted to hang 100 on this team. You know this, but for the betterment of the team to get a win on the road, he said, hey, we just need to let the defense do their thing. I'm not going to put my offense in unnecessary risk to where they can, have a turnover force deep in their own territory and set up Oklahoma with a short field. Oklahoma was really, really bad at driving the length of the field. They didn't do it often. I think they had, 9 drives of less than 10 yards or something like that. They had a backup quarterback in the game, last series before the half. Josh Heupel, who wanted to score 100 on this team, recognized, hey, I'm going to take a step back. Let my defense go to work. That's maturity, in my opinion, because if he's going to do that at all, but especially at a place like Oklahoma, where he wants to prove everybody wrong, he put aside his ego, he put aside his playbook, if you will, and went and got the number one thing that was most important, that was a win for Tennessee. And he got it in a different way. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. I would love to hear what you guys have at _Caner at Locked On Vols. Ask me some questions, mailbag questions tomorrow. Would love to expand on this conversation. Time constraints here. I'm not really able to go down as deep into it as I want to. What did you think about Josh Heupel's offensive strategy in the second half of this football game against Oklahoma? Wasn't a huge fan, but I get it. And I think it was a smart move, and I think it was good coaching, and I think it was mature coaching. I really, really do. Most important thing is defense was elite, and Tennessee won 25-15 on the road, 4-0 heading into the bye week here at the other portion of SEC play. When we come back, we'll hear scoring plays courtesy of the Vol Radio Network as we continue on here at the Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, when you place your first $5 bet. That's only at FanDuel.com, okay? NFL season's happening right now. College football season's in full swing. Tennessee off this week, but let's look at those early lines. Starting to come out, and then we'll see them adjusted over the next couple of days for Tennessee on the road. Another road game at Arkansas, and of course, setting up for that October 12th matchup with Florida at home. And then the third Saturday in October, Tennessee, Alabama at Neyland Stadium on October the 19th. All those early lines and more over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Go check out FanDuel.com to get started today. FanDuel.com is America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, it's where you can make every moment more. Welcome back into your Monday edition of Locked On Vols, giving you some quick reactions, some quick takeaways, some scoring plays coming up here in segment number 2 of Tennessee's 25-15 win over Oklahoma to begin SEC play. Tennessee, of course, on a bye week this week. So we're going to look back over the first third of the season, some of the highs, some of the lows, all that and more, and what Tennessee needs to do to continue on this upward trajectory towards the college football playoffs and, hey, maybe even a spot in Atlanta for the SEC championship. So Tennessee got going on Saturday. It got the football twice at the 50-yard line over its first 3 possessions. Guess how many points Tennessee got out of that? 3. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. The defense stays out there. It was Brent Venables and his offensive staff, actually, that were taking some risk early on and went for it on 4th down right at midfield. Came up short. Tennessee's defense came up strong there. Gave the football to Josh Heupel, Nico, and Tennessee's offense at the 50-yard line. Nothing doing. Tennessee had to punt. 2 series later, Tennessee gets the football back at the 50-yard line and finally go down there and find some points. 3 points on the first 2 possessions, 2 of the 3 possessions that started at the 50-yard line. That is not good, but Max Gilbert does get Tennessee on the board and puts Tennessee on the board first in this football game with a 27-yard boot at the 3:45 mark to make it 3-0. Oklahoma draws even there just before the first quarter ends with a field goal kicker of their own, and Keltner, 37 yards, making it good, 55 yards off 10 plays. 3-3 is the score as we head into as we get closer to the second quarter. I was going to say that is the first that was the last scoring play of the first quarter, but it was not. Less than 40 seconds later, Tennessee on 2nd and 1, it was a screen pass to Squirrel wide. Brew McCoy makes a nice block, springing Squirrel to get to the first down marker, or getting close to the first down marker, setting up 2nd and 1 from your own 34. And 2nd and 1, we're football fans, we're football people. We know what comes on 2nd and 1, right? That's a shot play. You take a shot because if you miss, come up empty, it's 3rd and 1. You got 1 yard to get the first down. 2nd and 1's a shot play, and Tennessee took a shot. The best throw of the day from Nico Iamaleava goes on a post pattern to Dante Thornton, and oh my goodness, was it a beauty. 66 yards to the house, and here's how it sounded, courtesy of Bob Kessling, Pat Ryan, Brent Hubbs, Vol Radio Network.
2nd down and 1. Nico back to throw. Play fake. Guns it over the middle again. He's got a man to the 40-yard line. To the 20. To the 10. You can crank up Rocky Top. Touchdown, Tennessee. Dante Thornton over the middle, and he had it put right on him by Nico as he got the ball over the middle and raced 66 yards for a Tennessee touchdown.
The run game so effective in this offense because it freezes backers, it freezes safety. You had a backside safety coming in, and he was totally sold out on the run there. Come in, took 3 or 4 steps. All Thornton has to do is beat the corner on the inside. The corner's expecting help from the inside safety, right? Safety's not there. Nico puts it over the safety's head, okay, inside the corner, right into the midst of Dante Thornton running that skinny post, and Thornton does the rest, off to the races. That was a beautiful throw. What's up, Bruce Almighty? Gorgeous throw, and Tennessee was feeling itself there, 10-3 heading into the second quarter. Well, Tennessee pedal to the metal, right, defensively. Got the football back a little bit later, had to punt. It was a 57-yard punt off the right foot of Jackson Ross down to the 4-yard line for Oklahoma. A false start gives a hat tip and an assist, making it half the distance of the goal, putting the football at 1st and 10 from the own 2-yard line for Oklahoma. Snap number 1, Tennessee does the rest. It is Jason Jenkins with the safety, making it 12-3, Tennessee.
Now it's first down and 12, Oklahoma. Hands off, tailback, did he get out of the end zone? Safety, they handed it off to Barnes. He couldn't get out of the end zone. Great play as Tennessee was able to get pressure in there, and Jason Jenkins is the one who came up and tackled him in the end zone for the safety.
Yeah, spoilers for segment number 3 when we get to our game balls. Jason Jenkins played more in this football game than he ever has. It just, again, another example of that defensive line. It could be this guy one day, could be this guy one day, could be this guy one day. Jason Jenkins isn't even mentioned when we talk about the 12 to 13, 14 deep, right? He plays a little bit. He only had 7 snaps. He had a safety, okay, he had a sack, and he had a tackle and a half for loss. Goodness gracious, he had a ball game, and he made the most of his opportunities. So, at that point in time, with 9 minutes left and 12 seconds of the second quarter, it was Tennessee leading Oklahoma 12-3. So, nothing doing the rest of the first half. Tennessee's defense was doing what it was doing, and Oklahoma's defense as well. But Tennessee does get the football back and says, okay, enough's enough. We've got to establish the run. DeSean Bishop actually got it going a little bit in the play prior before another Jackson Ross punt. He had a run of 12, 8, and 7. I think he had, somewhere around 40 yards on one of the series, but still had to punt it. They go back to Dylan Sampson the next offensive possession, and Tennessee marches right down the field, 8 plays, 46 yards. Nobody but Dylan Sampson, and this drive, this touchdown was the difference in the football game. It was a completely different football game after this touchdown, and I'll tell you why.
That's pickup of 16. They go quick again. They hand off to Sampson again. He fights his way close. Not in.
He gave him a touchdown.
He gave it to him. Saw where the ball was. Touchdown. Dylan Sampson just fought his way into the end zone. He ran 16 yards to get it to the 1, and then he polished off the touchdown drive with that one from 1 yard out.
There's the touchdown.
Dylan Sampson with his 10th rushing touchdown of the season. A 1-yard run, one of his shortest touchdown runs of the year. But that's a big one because it puts Tennessee out in front of Oklahoma now 18-3.
Yeah, that was huge for Tennessee at the time because it goes up 18-3. Max Gilbert's good on the PAT, 19-3. Tennessee is up by 16 at the halftime break, and that allows Tennessee to change its offensive game flow. It's like, okay, well, the first quarter, 7 attempts, 7 yards, 1 yard per carry. Second quarter, they ran for over 70 yards. Said, okay, the way the defense is playing, the way you're running the football, let's go win this game without taking unnecessary risk and having 2 more strip sacks on your own side of the 50, right? That touchdown changed everything for Tennessee, and it got Dylan Sampson rolling in this football game. And again, shout out to DeSean Bishop for kickstarting the run game there the drive prior in that second quarter. So Tennessee went into the halftime break leading by a score of 19-3. Max Gilbert tacks on with midway through the third quarter, makes it 22-3. Tennessee led at one point late in the third quarter, 22-3, and Oklahoma did not have 100 yards of total offense. Well, we know what happened from there. Oklahoma scores twice, one on from Tennessee's reserves, the other one on a bogus roughing the passer call that kept the drive alive. Nonetheless, regardless of any way you want to spin it, Max Gilbert does tack on another field goal later in the fourth quarter, making it 25-9 at the time. This game was never in jeopardy. Tennessee was never losing this game, but they had to change some things up and change the way they played. And again, I'll give a hat tip to Josh Heupel for recognizing that, not getting too caught up in his emotions to allow his offense to go to work. His offense could step aside. Defense did what it did. In Tennessee, the most important thing, as he said numerous times in post-game, Tennessee got the win. And Tennessee is 4-0 heading into the bye week. When we come back, stats, Caner grades, game balls, all that and more as we continue on here with a Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. What to say about our friends over at the Game Time app? There was a big-time concert over at Neyland Stadium this past weekend. Not just one concert night, 2 concert nights. You know what I'm talking about, right? And maybe you were in attendance. Because you bought your ticket on the Game Time app. I put in that redeem code Locked On College for $20 off over on the Game Time app. When you put in that promo code Locked On College, terms apply. You can buy concert tickets. You can buy comedy show tickets. You can buy sports tickets, football games, baseball games, basketball games, Smokies games, Whatever the case may be, you can buy tickets to events in your area by logging on to gametime.co or downloading the Game Time app. Again, Game Time app, put in the promo code LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and you can check out the Game Time picks, the best price guarantee, the lowest price guarantee, Game Time ticket coverage with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. All that and more is over on the Game Time app. Again, promo code LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Reactions and key takeaways here from Tennessee's 25-15 win over Oklahoma here on a Monday Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen here this morning. Mailbag edition of the show that is coming up tomorrow, so send in those questions, comments, concerns at _Kaner at Locked On Vols. You can find me on the Instagram page as well. So let's go through here. Let's look at some of the stats, some of the big stats, and I think the important thing to remember here before I give out game balls and do some Kaner grades is that elite teams find ways to win when other areas of your game's not working, right? Tennessee's defense picking up the offense at times. Tennessee's special teams, let me have that correction. Tennessee's specialist picking up a struggling offensive unit at points and times in this football game. So I think that's really, really important. Tennessee wins a football game accumulating only 345 yards of total offense. Not many times that Tennessee's going to, have less than 400 yards of total offense, right? Tennessee hard earned. They earned every single yard of 151 rushing yards on the ground. Again, kind of that cutoff is 150 yards. Tennessee wins games when they rush for 150. They lose games when they rush for less than 150 typically, right? Tennessee just got to that plateau. And honestly, Dylan Sampson finished the day with 92 yards rushing. He earned every single second of it, every single yard of it, right? Because remember, in the first quarter, Tennessee backs 7 carries, 7 yards, 1 yard per tote. It was slow moving, but Tennessee finally, didn't have a great day running the football, but a respectable day running the football for sure. Passing yards, Tennessee threw it for 194 through the air. Different combinations there. I think Oklahoma's secondary is pretty good. I think Tennessee's wide receivers at times failed to get some separations. I know Nico missed on a couple of throws. But overall, it was tough sledding offensively for Tennessee in this football game. And credit Brent Venables' defense. I think that's a pretty good defense. I think that offense has got a million problems, but I think that defense is going to keep them in a lot of games this year. Tennessee picked up 14 first downs. Oklahoma actually had more first downs, 16. If Tennessee were to get Oklahoma to third down, typically Tennessee was going to get off the field, but Oklahoma was picking up first downs on first and second down throughout the football game. Oklahoma was only 3 of 15 on third downs. Great average from Tennessee's defense. Now, Tennessee's offense only 6 of 19 on third down, so it's not like Tennessee was doing much better in that regard, but Tennessee's defense had a day for sure. Penalties, big issue in this one, and that's been an issue for Josh Heupel on the road at times throughout his career here at Tennessee. Tennessee was penalized 10 times. Let's see here. 10 times for 82 yards. That's not winning football. Not winning football whatsoever. Tennessee turned the football over twice. Tennessee created 3 turnovers, had 2 turnovers on downs. In my opinion, I think the turnovers on downs should count as a turnover because it's literally in the name, right? Go for it on fourth down, you fail, that should count as a turnover, right? You are turning the football over to the offense, right? To the defense, I guess. But nonetheless, Tennessee forced 3 turnovers, 2 turnovers on downs. Oklahoma had to punt 7 times in this football game. Tennessee had to punt 8 times in this football game. But overall, the stats aren't going to wow you. But defensively, the Volunteers racked up 3 sacks, double-digit TFLs, 11 TFLs. Again, forced 2 fumbles, had an interception, tallied 4 pass breakups. It was a relentless type of defense for the University of Tennessee. Let's get to our Kaner grades here as we got a couple of minutes left. Quarterback, Nico, 13 of 21, 194 yards, a touchdown. He had 2 turnovers. Now, you got to be mindful when you're back there in the pocket, right? Especially when coming from the left side, you got to have that clock. I'm not saying the strip sacks are his fault, but you got to be a little bit mindful of that. He did have 2 turnovers. That counts as 2 turnovers. I'll say, Nico's a B- or C+. He had some gorgeous throws for sure, man. He had that throw to Dante Thornton, the throw to Brew McCoy I thought was really good. The Brew McCoy catch was even better. Nico did some good things in this game, and he continues to, give Tennessee an added element that it just truly didn't have. But I'll say in this game where the offense struggled overall, I'll give Nico a B-, okay? Running backs, I'll give him a C+. I'm going to dock both DeSean Bishop and Dylan Sampson. I don't know the exact responsibilities, but I assume that they got to help out with the edge blitzes, okay? And they didn't on those strip sacks, but tough first quarter, but they really, really started to come around and got going. Hard-earned yards for the Tennessee running backs. I'll give the Tennessee running backs a C+. Tight ends, a C. Holden Staes had 2 receptions for 8 yards, couple first down pickups. Again, the run game wasn't always great, and so the tight ends are a big part of that. Tight ends will get a C grade in my regards here. Wide receiver is going to get a B-. Again, struggled to get open down the field at points and times, create separation. Did have some really, really good catches and some yak, and so I'm going to award some good points there in that regard. So the wide receiver is going to B, and then the offensive line is going to get a D. Again, not the best day offensively. You were down a starting offensive tackle. You're starting right tackle. John Campbell didn't play an awful lot in this football game, so you were playing a lot with Dane Davis and Larry Johnson, and you feel good about what you have in Dane Davis because he's an experienced guy, but Larry Johnson's a guy that's really hardly ever played. He played 34 snaps the other night or something like that, and that's the most he's ever played in a Tennessee uniform. So Josh Heupel said overall he was pleased with his tackles' efforts, knowing that they were kind of thrust into action. But offensively, overall, up and down the line, the Pro Football Focus grades, take it with a grain of salt, kind of reflected as well. Tennessee overall just didn't have a good day up front, and it's reflective in the total yards. It's reflective in the turnovers. It's reflective in the rushing yards, especially early in this football game. No pre-snap penalties except for one. Tennessee, obviously, with the operation standpoint, was pretty solid, but a tough day on the offensive line is going to get a D. Flip it over on the defensive side of the football. Defensive line gets an A, just relentless. Linebackers get an A. Keenan Peely is playing so well right now. I thought Arian Carter had a couple flags due to hustle more than anything, in my opinion. I think Arian Carter's playing really well, but those 2 linebackers for Tennessee, whew, goodness gracious. Defensive backs overall going to get a B. I'll watch the tape a little bit more tonight. Maybe I'll change my grade there, but I thought the star position was giving up some easy slants earlier in the football game. Boo Carter, of course, went out in the first or second quarter. Christian Harrison did some things, but I thought early on in the game they were letting the slant too easily. But Jacoby Thomas is a player. I thought Will Brooks played pretty well in some of the things that I saw. But Jacoby Thomas continues to make plays. He just continues to make plays. That hit on the sideline with him and Boo, whoo! Welcome to the SEC, Oklahoma. Special teams overall gets a C because it continues to be penalties. There should have been another punt that was down inside the 5 or 10 yard line, but Tennessee's punt team messed that up. But specialist-wise, get an A+++++. Jackson Ross, goodness gracious, man, 8 punts, averaging 48.4 yards per punt. It had a long of 57. He had 3 punts over 50 yards. He had 2 punts landing inside the 20. Jackson Ross, have yourself a day, flipping the field, and Max Gilbert, flipping the field led to that safety, by the way, and then Max Gilbert, 3 for 3, good from 27, 41, and 32. Tennessee specialists get an A+. And coaching, you may disagree, and that is A-okay, that is fine. Me personally, the adjustments on the fly, changing the game plan in the second half just to focus on getting the win and the win alone, I thought that showed maturity, especially in a place like the Palace on the Prairie, right? What they call the Oklahoma's home field. So I'm going to give coaching an A. I really am. I thought Tennessee did a good job of mixing things up defensively, offensively. Just to rely on the defense, to rely on the run game, and to not do things that would get you beat. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're playing scared. You're playing scared." Well, yeah, you can look at it that way. And I'm not a huge fan. I don't want that to be Tennessee every week, and it won't be Tennessee every week. But sometimes you got to realize what's more important, scoring 50 or getting a win guaranteed. I think you want to go get that win guaranteed, right? And that's just my opinion. So I'm going to give coaching an A on this one. Game balls. Wide receiver Brew McCoy. He looks better than ever. That catch, gorgeous down the near sideline. Great job by Brew McCoy. Defensive lineman Jason Jenkins, 7 snaps, a sack, and a TFL and a half. Jason Jenkins made the most of his opportunities. Joshua Josephs, 2 forced fumbles. Joshua Josephs continues to be a bright spot in this game. Jackson Ross, already read out his stats earlier. Jackson Ross, game ball to you, and then game ball of all game balls goes to Josh Heupel for leading this team to a road victory in this league, to a 4-0 record, and going back and handling business the right way at a place that ended poorly for you. And, of course, that's a place that means so much to you as a player and a coach. You guys mean the world to me. Thank you so much for joining me here on Locked On Vols and making us a part of your morning routine. Send in those questions, those comments, anything you guys have for the mailbag edition of the show. I'll answer those questions on tomorrow's show. Until then, guys, thank you so much. Have a great Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.